And on today's Business Matters, U.S. producer prices were unexpectedly unchanged in June. This is based on the Labor Department's latest Producer Price Index reading. This follows an upwardly revised 0.3% rise in May. Tariff-driven increases in cost of goods was offset by softening demand for travel services. And opening statements were made in an $8 billion Facebook privacy violation lawsuit against Mark Zuckerberg and other current and former company leaders. The case started in 2018 after it was revealed that data from millions of Facebook users was accessed by now defunct political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica. The FTC fined Facebook $5 billion. Now Meta platform shareholders want the defendants to reimburse Meta for the fine and other legal costs. The defendants say evidence will show Facebook was a victim of Cambridge Analytica's deceit. And the winner of the most Emmy nominations this year goes to HBO and HBO Max with a record 142 nominations. Apple TV Plus also scored a record 81, the most since the streamer started. Both are home to the shows that earned the most nominations. Apple TV Plus psychological thriller Severance led with 27, and HBO's crime drama The Penguin got 24. Winners will be announced in September. President Trump says more trade deals are in the works. He says he intends to impose tariff rates of more than 10% on imports from smaller nations. Here are the details.
We're working on probably 5 or 6. Of the 5 or 6, I'm not sure I really want to do them. You know, you want somebody that knows how to negotiate. But we'll probably have 2 or 3. You know, we insist on opening up the country, which is a big deal.
The president spoke to reporters on Tuesday after agreeing one deal, this time with Indonesia. That will see the country's goods hit with a 19% tariff, down on the 32% that Trump had said the country would face from August 1st. US goods will be able to enter Indonesia free from all duties. Trump said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick were now keen to land more deals. But he said he was happy just sending out notices telling countries their rate.
I have to tell you, for the most part, I'm very happy with the letters. You know, the letters are a deal.
Trump said letters would soon be going out to many smaller countries, which would face a rate of a little over 10%.
Meanwhile, Beijing has attempted to support economic growth by keeping ports and factories running, but a lack of demand is hitting profits. China's export-heavy model has withstood U.S. tariffs so far, with its economy posting 5% growth in the second quarter. But a Chinese State Farm employee reveals cracks in the economy. Even though he works for a state-owned enterprise, his salary was cut, so he delivers food now after work. Critics charge the lopsided growth is because of policies that favor exporters over consumers. Some economists have urged Beijing to redirect support to domestically focused sectors such as healthcare and education. A caffeine rush into the U.S. Brazilian coffee traders are racing shipments in ahead of a 50% tariff that goes into effect on Brazilian products on August 1st. Some traders said they're diverting vessels mid-journey and canceling stops in other ports to get containers packed with Brazilian coffee into U.S. ports before the deadline. Others said they're sending coffee that was meant for neighboring countries like Canada and Mexico to the U.S. instead. Coffee seller Expo Caser said the tax is imposed internally, so the importing country is actually responsible for paying, which will likely then be passed on to coffee drinkers. You may see a bigger chunk of your paycheck going toward healthcare costs next year. That's according to Mercer's survey on health and benefit strategies. It finds more than half of employers say they're planning to pass higher healthcare costs onto their workers. That means health insurance options could include higher deductibles or out-of-pocket maximums. Companies have been seeing rising healthcare costs over the past few years. The amount an employer spends on health benefits is expected to jump nearly 6% this year. That would follow a rise of 4.5% last year. Another factor impacting employer healthcare costs is the increasing popularity of expensive GLP-1 weight loss drugs. Nearly two-thirds of mid-sized companies offered coverage for the drugs in 2024. That number is likely to decrease in 2026. Last night, for the first time ever, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game used the automated ball strike system. The automated technology allows teams to challenge balls and strikes. It's been used in the minor leagues and spring training, but this was its first use as a major league park. Each team starts the game with 2 challenges, and they keep their challenge if they're deemed correct. Only the pitcher, catcher, or hitter can challenge a ball. The ABS system was in place during the Futures game at Atlanta's Truist Park on Saturday. When a player chooses to challenge a call, the game pauses. A virtual simulation of the pitch is then shown along with the strike zone, and the technology rules whether the ball was outside or inside the box. Shares in Renault plunged as much as 13% on Wednesday. This comes after the French car maker lowered its 2025 profit outlook due to weaker than expected sales volumes in June and a challenging European market. Here's more.
Shares in Renault plunged as much as 18% on Wednesday. Investors sold off after the French car maker surprised them with a profit warning. Renault said late Tuesday June sales volumes were weaker than expected. It added it was now aiming for a full-year operating profit margin of 6.5%, below a previous target of 7%. The company also added its free cash flow came in at just $54 million during the first half of the year. It blamed a more than $1 billion impact on working capital from delayed billings and a decline in the European passenger car and van market. The update comes just a month after CEO Luca Di Maio announced his departure. Renault named finance chief Duncan Minto as an interim CEO on Tuesday. The auto giant said the process for naming a permanent CEO was well underway, but gave no update on timing. Renault said it would step up cost-cutting measures to improve margins in the second half of the year. But some analysts see market pressure continuing as European car makers release a new lineup of affordable electric vehicles, which raises competition. Analysts also said the lower guidance raised concerns about leadership uncertainty in a volatile market.
ASML, the world's biggest supplier of computer chip-making equipment, warned today that it may not achieve growth in 2026, even after its second quarter bookings beat market expectations. Here's more.
ASML warned it may not achieve growth next year. The Dutch tech giant said geopolitical uncertainty continued to cloud its prospects. Investors weren't enthused by Wednesday's update and shares fell 7.3%. They'd hoped that the most recent quarter would provide some reassurance over its outlook for 2026. ASML boss Christophe Fouquet said the level of uncertainty is rising, citing tariffs as one factor. The company said it was working with its supply chain to deal with any impact from the tariffs. ASML is the world's biggest supplier of computer chip-making equipment. Wednesday's share plunge comes despite second quarter bookings beating market expectations. New bookings hit $6.4 billion, well ahead of analyst expectations. One market watcher said strong demand for AI-related chip makers drove the numbers.
And here's a recall to pass along about a popular yogurt that's sold across the country. Danone announced Monday it's recalling its Yo Crunch yogurt products because plastic pieces could be in the dome topper. The company says people could possibly choke if they swallowed those pieces. Danone is recalling all flavors and sizes of its Yo Crunch products with an expiration date between July and September. The company is advising consumers who have the yogurt to either throw it out or contact the company's consumer care line for a refund. Cereal maker W.K. Kellogg is joining Ferrero, the Italian confectionery family. With a track record for revamping struggling brands, Ferrero is poised to revive Kellogg. Here's more.
From sweets, snacks, and baked goods to breakfast cereals, Ferrero has pursued an aggressive global expansion. Its latest is a $3 billion deal for W.K. Kellogg. The Special K and Frosted Flakes maker has struggled with weakening consumer demand and come under scrutiny for artificial food dyes. But Ferrero has a history of turning around challenged brands it acquires. Under Chairman Giovanni Ferrero, the company has invested heavily in product innovation, reformulation, and package redesign. In 2018, Ferrero bought Nestle, adding candy bars like Baby Ruth and 100 Grand to its portfolio. It grew demand by relaunching Butterfinger with higher quality ingredients and revamped packaging. Ferrero acquired Kellogg's cookie, snack, and ice cream business in 2019 and revitalized brands with new packaging and more marketing. Analysts also note that Ferrero is well positioned to navigate the push in the U.S. to remove artificial dyes from food. The company has decades of experience working with European regulators who have pushed back on additives, coloring, and sugar.
And lots of muggles out there are going to be cheering this news. The long-awaited Harry Potter TV series has officially started production at Warner Brothers Studios, Leavesden in the United Kingdom. The HBO series is expected to debut in 2027. Each of the 7 Harry Potter books will make up an entire season. Variety reports shooting on Season 1 is expected to last until the spring of next year, and Season 2 will go into production after a short break. The cast is also set. Dominic McLaughlin will play Harry Potter. Arabella Stanton will be the next Hermione Granger. And Alistair Stout will play Ron Weasley. One of the coolest big screen weapons of all time is expected to bring big bucks at auction. Here's more.
You are unwise to lower your defenses.
Darth Vader's lightsaber is going on the auction block. The actual prop used in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi is part of Prop Store's next entertainment memorabilia live auction. The pre-sale estimate, $1 to $3 million. Other key items up for bid: Harrison Ford's bullwhip and belt from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Sauron's helmet from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and a neuralizer from Men in Black. The auction is in September. More info at propstoreauction.com.
Ми вперше виїхали за кордони Києва. Ну і, в принципі, ти просто виїжджаєш, як в якийсь інший світ. І знайшли там закинуту сцену.
The documentary Match in a Haystack follows an all-female Ukrainian dance company as they mount their first show since the Russian invasion. Iconic ballerina Misty Copeland is an executive producer on the film, which premieres next week in New York, plays in LA, Chicago, Denver, and DC theaters in August, and is due on VOD this fall.
Breaking news. President Trump just announced on Truth Social that Coca-Cola is going to use real cane sugar. He said, quote, "I have been speaking to Coca-Cola about using real cane sugar in Coke in the United States, and they have agreed to do so. I'd like to thank all of those in authority at Coca-Cola. This will be a very good move by them." Okay, on to Wall Street. It closed modestly higher today, with the Nasdaq posting yet another record finish, despite midday market turmoil caused by reports that President Trump was considering firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell, which are claims Trump later denied. The S&P 500, Nasdaq, and Dow all gained, while investor anxiety over potential Fed leadership changes briefly spiked volatility. Bank earnings were strong, but failed to lift shares broadly. And that's it for today's Business Matters.